the worst thing that you could hear from a customer is, hey, sky's the limit.
Don't tell me that.
You do whatever the hell you want. And it's just like, whoa, like that's brutal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like true creativity comes from thinking outside the box.
Yes.
But within the brief. You're listening to the Angry Designer Podcast, where we help frustrated graphic designers crush all the industry BS and learn what it takes to charge what you're worth and build badass, rewarding careers. Designers are visual creatures, right? Always taking in visuals, how-tos that's focused on the final product, whether it's a killer logo or a great layout or that perfectly crafted corporate idea that we side scroll back and forth on like 10 times, like it's going to change every single time that we do this. But here's the thing. Most designers never stop to think about the mindset behind their work. In this episode, we're going to share how to stop following trends and remind ourselves on the mindset that we need to embrace to start setting those trends. We're going to cover how to balance creativity with constraints, how to embrace feedback as a tool for growth, and why simplifying your design is one of the most powerful decisions a designer can make. So grab yourself a drink and sit back, or keep your eyes on the road ahead. And also don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on our website, because we're about to share 25 ways to truly think like a designer. So although you guys have been waiting for a week to hear another episode, it's only been a couple days for us. So surprisingly, we still have some of this Travelers. We still have some of this Chris Stapleton stuff.
I'm surprised you didn't come in here and on
drink
the weekend.
Some? Well, the reality is I bought a second bottle for myself at home. So I did do that. And I enjoyed Chris Stapleton at home. I did.
There you
That's
go.
all right. That's all right, but it was okay. It was okay. I got into that country mode,
Yes.
you know. I put on some Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, there you go.
I put on my cowboy hat, you know. Went around the house.
Assless
chaps. Oh my God, I fell for that one, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
Whoops.
Hey,
Yeah, no.
whatever you do in the privacy of your own home is for you, man.
Jeez. So how you doing? So this is actually the beginning of the week for us, isn't it?
This is the beginning of the week, yes.
And how's it been so far?
It's been challenging.
It's been pretty busy, eh?
Yes, I had a bit of a Frisco freak out there.
I know. What was that all about? I heard you going on out there.
I'm just in revision hell with one of our clients, and it's driving me nuts. But it's kind of one of those things where you initially see all the changes and you just want to fucking kick everything down. You want to email them right away. But then it's like, you get older, you're just kind of like, okay, no, I know myself too well.
Take a breath.
I'm just going to take a breath. Yeah.
Maybe sneak a drink.
I did the changes. Everything's good now.
Really?
Yes.
It is. I don't know. Why is that initial round always get people so upset with this?
Yes.
And then afterwards you calm down and you start thinking them through and you're like, well, I guess that's not that bad.
You look at it and it's like, oh, I see what he means here. Like you read it and all of a sudden blood goes into your eyes and you're just like, you're angry.
No, actually, interestingly enough, I think it's because they're not designers.
That's probably.
So they're approaching it from a completely different mindset than we are. This is a good segue.
Oh, that's a great segue.
So we get into such a routine that we're just creating and designing for aesthetics. We forget the initial brief, the detail. We don't necessarily go in depth as we should. Mm-hmm. And because we're designers, we're visual people, and we're exposed every day to visual assets. We're online. Our design porn is like corporate IDs and new logos. And so we're ingesting so much visual aesthetics that, we're maybe not paying enough attention to what we should be doing and how we should be approaching this stuff. And again, it's no fault in, it's the world that we live in, right? Mm-hmm. But how quick and how easy is it to kind of lose track of what we should be doing?
Right.
And maybe that would be it, because maybe, and I mean, I'm not blaming you and saying you suck,
No.
Maybe I will give you a reprimand or something. But, like, I mean, had you potentially, gone through the initial brief a little bit more in detail, and again, you're not saying that you suck in any way, but, maybe applied the right methodology, the right thinking, the right attitude to this.
Yes.
Maybe they would have been less revisions coming back.
I would also like to point out, too, because when we talked about niching and you niche down into the tech world, the tech world is very complicated. And I still have a tough time with the architecture and stuff like that and how things work.
Okay.
In that way. So this is where I think it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not exactly. These are technical dudes, and they know all this kind of stuff.
But and you're right about that. But like you said, you don't get down into the process enough, right? And even as granted, we sometimes deal with some pretty heavy tech shit. But had we go through the process a little bit, start thinking about the problem we're trying to solve. Maybe then, the client wouldn't have some things that afterwards, when they come back with the revisions, we're like, oh yeah, I guess.
Yes.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I shit this morning too, okay? I saw some of the most stupid comments, and they're talking to me about hierarchy, yet what they proposed was fucking ridiculous that I shot it back at them. And I'm like, well, since we're talking about hierarchy, and then I just slammed their idea. And I shouldn't have
done
work?
That.
Yeah, well, it did, because they came back and they're like, oh, well, I'm not telling you how to design, and that was just a suggestion. And in the end, I was like, okay, calm down. Fuck. But again, you know what? I think this is a legitimate topic. This is a good segue, because the reality is we often lose sight on how we should be thinking, the mindset we should have. And I think that's what this episode is going to be about, is literally we want to bring it back from, we're constantly bombarded with, how to create this logo effect, how to create this halftone effect. Hey, here's a shortcut on how to actually, create, that so we're bombarded with this, but very often, it's so easy, it's so easy to get caught up in all the beauty and the wow, and like I said, the visual porn of it all,
making it look nice,
right? That we actually lose sight of the thought process and why we got into this in the first place. So we came up with a list of 25 ways to think like a designer, because the reality is so much of what we're getting is kind of like creating almost like a copycat world where we're seeing, we're ingesting, and we're just redoing. We're not often being innovative. We're not often actually being designers, being creative. We're just, we're keeping up with trends. We're seeing something we like. We're just kind of designing on the cuff, and maybe, not actually. And again, this is all about longevity. This isn't about just turning out a quick job here or there, right? Because of course we can do that very easy. But I thought this would have been a really valuable thing for us to talk about, is maybe the mindset or things to remember to think like a designer, so that we are not following, okay? We are fucking leading, okay?
There you go.
And that's, so I got 25 different things here. Okay. And I'm sure this list could be 1,000 long. I'm sure. And I think everybody on here has probably heard these one time or another. But I think this would be a good, solid way to kind of get us back to our grounds, stand on 2 feet and be like, yeah, let's go.
Good. I'm going to need this after today.
I've already taped it to your computer, Sean. So, number one. Okay. Problem first, design second. Okay. We always say that our job of a designer is to solve an end user's problem. Okay. Whether it's a visual problem, whether it's an experience problem, a user problem, right? We should put the problem first and dig for that before we even start considering, and how it's going to look. And even if it's just something as simple as a social post, right? We take it for granted, but the reality is we have to lay that thing out to get that message quickly out, right? What it is that they want said, what the action is, how authentic is it going to be? How flat is it going to be? Is there something that we want them to do? There's a small problem there that we have to solve that, granted, social posts might be really thin to think about, but take that to another level, a microsite, a website, a poster, a trade show booth. There are things that, we should be doing. So we should always start by trying to define the problem first. Before we even dive any deeper into this.
Yeah, that's actually good. It avoids a lot of shit back and forth at the end.
Well, if you just do your job, Sean. Okay. Number 2. Okay. Embrace a user-centered mindset. Okay. How often do we completely forget about the end user?
Do we?
I think we do, because again, oftentimes I think people just kind of create on the fly, and they create this. Yeah, I mean, again, I could be wrong, but I do think that, in this place where we are, because of the volume that we're doing, I think sometimes we're just on autopilot mode, and we're creating to, because we've kind of got a rinse and repeat type system, right? Where and I'm sure people who are stuck doing a ton of social are just cranking out social on a regular basis, where I don't know if we're always, if we embrace a user-centered mindset like we should, okay? Because again, we have to empathize with that end user first before we start thinking about how cool something looks.
Right. Yeah. I think if you're on social media and stuff like that and you're seeing your work there, that's you using it. No? Like if you look at it and you say, okay, this may not work. That image, I maybe kind of force that in there a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh, you kind of like jam stuff.
Like if you're looking at what you're doing, in its practical application, that's kind of being the user, no? And you're looking at it objectively, because this is what I'm using it. Let's say I'm going into LinkedIn and I'm looking at a LinkedIn ad. Yeah. And it's like, it looks good, it works. Or
see, but how many of those LinkedIn ads are just showing a feature of an app, or they're showing a dashboard of an app, right? Remember, people buy from people, right? And if we create something that, so many websites I see have got like, the above the fold, has nothing to appeal to the person. It shows a dashboard of their awesome app that they created, right? People don't buy that. They don't buy that. They buy what that dashboard allows them to do, takes them to the next level. There's a quote by Frank Chimero, okay? I don't even know. I want to say Chimero, but it's probably Chimero, or something like that. But anyway, regardless, he says, people ignore design that ignores people. Right? And that's exactly it. Okay. So, I'm sure we could, debate back and forth about, if our social posts ignore users or not, or we put them first. But the reality is we always have to design with the end user in mind first. Right. First and foremost, okay? Right. So we're solving problems, but then we have to remember who exactly we're solving them for. It's not what looks cool. It's about what works for them and what catches their eye, and how do we make them realize that we're trying to solve their problems. Right. Number 3, okay? And this one I love, and this one's been around for like 100 years, okay? But form follows function. Nice. Okay, people? Yeah. And again, this goes right back to don't prioritize aesthetics over the usability, okay? And this I believe this came from, an architecture quote, I believe. I think this was meant first initially for architects, but designers embraced it everywhere because it makes so much more sense. And I think even Charles Eames used to refer to this when he was building his chair. But I mean, the reality is it's like, don't worry about the look of it until everything else is in place first, right? And we can take this another step further. And, we use this term here internally, saying that, make sure the design that you create is proper for the execution. So if it's a banner stand, okay, and it's at a trade show, and it's going to be, seen like, people are going to see it. They're only going to see it from like 2 feet up, right? Well, don't put shit down on the floor and put a ton of copy on this thing and think that people are going to stop and read the entire thing, right? It's a banner stand. It 3 seconds max. Yes. Okay, so 1-2 bullet points, a big headline, and a call to action, nothing else. Yeah. Okay, and that's how we also use it internally, right? To make sure that whatever we design internally here is for the end use that it is, right? So it follows the form of what it is, or the function of what it's supposed to. Right. Right. Yeah. You don't want a whole shit ton of copy down at the bottom of it. Oh, jeez. I remember somebody did that once. I've been to, you don't know how many trade shows that I've been at where it sits behind the front desk. Yes. And you can't even see the bottom of it. You can't even see where the bottom is. It's like, where's your website? And they're like, oh, well, here, lean over and you'll read it.
But this is what I'm saying. Sometimes it's hard to talk the client into thinking that way.
Yeah.
Because of we're the design thinking people. They are not thinking in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
You know what I mean? So yeah, you got to talk people out of this stuff, and it's very difficult sometimes.
Well, this is why you can take this list and show it to them, because it'd be like, hey, you know what? People are paying thousands of dollars to learn how to design think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
design thinking.
they really are.
Guess what? I know it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Use this list, present this list back to customers. This will fucking do the job for you. Okay, so number 4. Okay. Think in systems. Okay. So think in systems. Consider not just the element that you're working on right now, but how it's going to work across other mediums. Okay. When we talk about, and this is why often when, some of the awesome people out there who are creating, logos that, when they present them in Corp ID packages, on hats, on cars, on, the side of buildings or whatever, right? You've got to understand that what you're building is going to go further than just the unit itself. And far too often are we seeing people design just for that one execution, and then it's not usable anywhere else, right? This is where that whole concept we were talking about is the adaptive logo. Okay, how important it is nowadays. And I've always said this to customers, right? Make sure your logo works horizontally, make sure it works vertically. If you have to, drop the name and just keep the mark, right? Because you're not doing your brand a service if all of a sudden it shows up, in the place A or B or C, and it looks different. It looks horrible because you're keeping to the function or the lockup. You're keeping true to the lockup. That's the worst thing you can do for a brand, right?
Yes.
So when you design, make sure you think in systems. You think past what that initial use was for. Okay. And I don't think often people think that far ahead, right?
Yeah.
Especially these days. We're talking print, we're talking packaging, we're talking, online, favicons, okay, everywhere. It's sad to think that how many logos, will never be printed. They're only going to be viewed in RGB.
Really though?
Yeah. Okay. There was some pretty scary stats that I seen out there, and it was just like they're created in RGB and they will always be RGB.
Interesting.
How many online businesses, do you see that are they're just a website. They're just like a Shopify site. You'll never see that. Sure, sometimes they'll come in a box and maybe the box will be printed. A lot of stuff doesn't even have that kind of life.
But we all want swag. No?
Do you want some Calendly swag, Sean? Is that what you want?
Maybe not Calendly, but, there's got to be like shirts and corporate shirts and things like that. Like,
maybe.
Like for,
we're in the B2B world.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in the B2B world. So we see that. But a lot of times people are buying a utility app, something electronic, something digital.
Wow.
You'll never see it printed.
Wow.
Have you ever seen a printed version of the Netflix logo? Because have we, right?
That is blowing my mind.
Maybe we
a mailer have been in the early days.
In the early days, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
But if you think the past,
the thing where you used to get the disc in, remember?
Right? Yeah. No, I don't remember that, Sean. I don't know what you're talking about. But
back in my day, we used to.
The reality is, it's like you have to think in mediums, right? And that Netflix logo is showing up everywhere. But maybe not in print.
Yeah.
So you do need to think past that.
That has blown my mind. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
and I really want a Calendly hat. God damn it. I don't know why, but I want that toilet seat.
The toilet seat hat.
I think that would look pretty badass, maybe.
Sure. All right, number five, which kind of goes in line with what we were talking about. Question everything. A designer questions everything. They don't settle, with surface level solutions. They don't create one thing and you're like, yep, good, done. And they kind of move on, right? Yep. You always have to ask and ask and ask why until you get to the root of the actual problem. And I think asking why is, I've taken that for granted all these years, but I think asking why is a skill that, I don't think a lot of people have lately.
This is true. Yeah. A lot of people just are like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
As
opposed to pushing back.
As opposed to, why are we doing this?
How many times it's like, people are like, do we really have to do this for the customer? I'm like, well, push back. Ask why we have to do it. Yeah. Maybe that's all they know. Maybe that's the only, maybe they're giving you thinking that you're just going to take an order. Maybe they weren't expecting you to push back in a polite, respectful way to say, hey, listen, have you thought about it in this sense?
Right.
I can tell you more times than not, when I push back in a polite way, not like today when I bitch about hierarchy, but
when I push back, in a polite way, they're often like, yeah, you're right. Go for it, and they appreciate that.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, they're given the recommendation. It's their job to just be like, nope, just do this, whatever. If there's a better way to go about it, nobody's going to say no to a better way.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's number 5, question everything.
Nice.
Number 6, balance creativity with constraints. Okay. This goes back to that whole, you need to create boundaries in order to fuel your creativity.
Right.
And people don't realize that. The worst thing that you could hear from a customer is, hey, sky's the fucking limit.
Don't tell me that.
You do whatever the hell you want. And it's just like, whoa. Like that's brutal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like true creativity comes from thinking outside the box.
Yes.
But within the brief.
Yes.
Okay. Because that forces you to think you need to be pressed harder. So there has to be some constraints into your thinking.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if it's just an open blank slate, it's the worst fucking thing.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. It's the hardest thing that you guys could possibly, I don't even want to think about it.
Totally. Yeah. Trying to come up with a band logo when I'm the client. I hate this.
Yeah, that's really good. If you want, I can come up with some, you know what I'm going to do for you, buddy?
That?
I'm going to give you the brief.
Yes. Would you do that?
I will give you, because I know your band.
Yes.
Yeah. I know your personalities,
right.
And I'll do that.
That would be great.
Let's see how this works out.
Oh, the great experiment. Yeah, because you know what? I am just like, ooh, I'll try this. Oh, that looks cool. And then I come back to it, and the next day, it's like, oh, fuck, I hate that. It looks terrible.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, let's try this. Try this. Okay, it'll be a fun experiment. All right. But needless to say, think outside the box, but inside the brief.
That's right.
Okay. Number 7, be a storyteller. Okay. Yes. And again, I never really understood, the importance, of design and compelling stories, whether it's a brand narrative or, like some sort of emotional experience, right? Or, when we hear like CJ Colley go on about, that
film,
the donkey on the beach. And it's just like, wow, right? Like that logo for people who understand what that event is like, it tells a story in a single mark.
Big time.
If you can tell that compelling story, dude, just people will remember the story, probably more than the mark, but they'll retell that story when they see that mark as kind of like they're an expert. It's one of those annoying designer things that we do, It's like, honey. And we go on and tell this really ridiculous situation. So Saul Bass, referred to this as design is thinking made visually.
Oh.
Right? So it's like you can think through that whole process and put all those connections together. But then if you can actually put it in a mark,
wow,
dude, you're gold.
Yeah. That's great.
It's kind of cool, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I do have a couple of these quotes throughout here that are peppered. I hope you'll appreciate these, right?
That's really good.
Okay, so number 7, be a storyteller.
Nice.
Number 8, iterate. You see what I did there? Number 8, iterate. You like you see that?
I totally missed
What's that number 9? It was the number 8.
That's
iterate.
Iterate.
Reality is
8.
never ever stop refining your work.
Yes.
Okay, when you're in that initial design stage, don't create a concept and be like, boom, it's done.
Yep.
I'm great.
Yep.
Okay. We've talked to so many people. Alan Peters, right? He's synonymous for creating like over 100 different initial concepts. And he's like, you know what? He goes, I spend like weeks just coming up with marks and marks and marks.
Yeah.
And again, a sketchbook, computer, this, that, right? He iterates before showing the client. Aaron Draplin. I mean, again, if you guys go on Skillshare and see, his logo tool, it's funny because it's like he'll create a logo in Illustrator and then he'll save that logo, copy it right beside it, iterate on it, change it. Then he's like, yeah, I kind of like that, but let me make another copy and make this change. And he is saving every single version in case something goes sideways, it goes stupid, right?
I like that. And then you can go back, you can revert
and he just
back
like looks back and this and that, right? But again, the whole point is, I mean, again, people fall in love with that first concept way too easy.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to avoid, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole goal here is don't be scared to keep going with iterations until you push yourself to a point where you're not iterating in a good direction anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because so many times it's like, we have that rule of thumb here that we show them what they want.
Yep.
We show them, a little bit ahead.
Yep.
of what we want, and then we show them that totally
crazy
ass out there concept. Yes. And how many times has that actually come back and the client's like, I like that.
It's really good. Yes.
But the funny thing is, even if they don't like it, they come back and give us props. And they're like, I appreciate your creativity here and your thought process. Not for us, but I appreciate. And all of a sudden, that gives us that extra little bit of cred. Right. And again, they really do appreciate that. But you know what? Between Droplin and Alan Peters and a lot of the people, you can't be scared to keep iterating, creating concepts, and keep, taking your designs to that next level. Otherwise, you won't know what you're capable of if you stop after 1 or 2 or 3 of your concept rounds.
This is true. Yeah.
Milton Glaser said, I move things around until they look right. Can't say that's very philosophical, but that pretty much kind of says the whole gist of it, right?
If you could distill down what we do into a very simple phrase. It is
pretty much that.
Yes. Wow.
Right?
Yes.
All
that's the I Love New York guy, right?
It's the I Love New York guy, yeah.
Okay.
Number 9.
Okay.
And number 9 is actually a quote, which is how to think like a designer, okay? And number 9 is stay hungry, stay foolish, okay? This was a Steve Jobs quote. Okay. And Steve Jobs, even though that guy couldn't fucking, design a logo for the life of him and he couldn't draw or anything like that, he embraced being a designer, unlike anybody. I mean, he was the way he thought about things, how he put the user always, at the first, how he's always trying to simplify things for the user to the best point. And his whole quote about staying hungry, staying foolish, this means make sure that you're always open to new ideas, okay? You're always looking for growth opportunities. You're always learning, okay? This whole stay hungry should be a mindset that we should be doing for life, okay? And again, we encourage people always to always be learning. This is how you're never going to experience ageism, okay? You're never going to grow old, and you'll never fade away as a designer, okay? Design is one of those fields that 70, 80, 90-year-old designers have just as much, if not more cred than the young people in this space.
Yeah, true.
So honestly, as long as you continually stay hungry and stay foolish, the foolish part is take chances, okay? Take chances without fear, basically. And that's the foolish part, right? Like, don't be scared to take chances. Don't be scared to fail or fall backwards.
Fuck up,
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Right? Because that's how you move forward.
Yes.
You don't move forward by all your successes. That's like, oh, good, I'm great. No, you move forward by like, oh, I fucked up. Never doing that again. One step forward, okay? So stay hungry, stay foolish.
Oh, Stevie Jobs.
All right.
Boy.
Number 10. Design for tomorrow. Okay. So Alan Peters made an interesting quote, and he was talking to us about when you're looking, at a design or when you're critiquing, right, or creating something, don't just think of what you're doing now, but think of what is a designer in 20 years going to do to your work? What are they going to think? Okay. So while we are critiquing right now, what are people in the future going to critique with, right? What does the future hold for what you're creating? Okay. If you're creating a flat brochure, okay, is it going to make it digitally? Are you going to have to put it in landscape format, right? If you're doing an actual trade show booth, are there opportunities for virtual conferences? What about Zoom backgrounds, right? You have to take your design and think, how am I going to, anticipate what future requirements might be for what I'm creating right now. And granted, if it's a social post, I get it. It's disposable. And we talk about disposable design.
Yes.
Okay. But when we're talking about brands, when we're talking about company brochures that actually are legacy pieces and can be used for 2, 3, 5 years, well, shit, then start thinking about how it's going to be used in the future, not just how it's going to be used today.
Yeah.
You know how many times that we have flipped customers' projects, right? Like they'll have a data sheet and they'll give it to us in vertical format. Okay. And my first question is, are customers ever going to receive a vertical format? And they're like, no, they're not, right? I'm like, well, why are we creating this in a vertical format? So when they get it on their email, they're going to scroll. Like, that's ridiculous. Let's turn this thing on its sideways. Let's turn it on the side, and then so they can see it in landscape. It's nicer to design. From our point of view,
it's easier to work with.
We've taken 3 customers' annual reports, okay, which traditionally used to be printed we've turned these things on their side now, and now they're landscape, and now they're digital pieces.
Yep.
And okay, granted, if they have to now print them landscape, it's a little bit more expensive. However, they're only printing like a tenth of what they used to. So they're saving money, and now it suits the new format, which is digital.
Yeah.
So you do have to think for tomorrow when you're designing today.
That totally makes sense.
Cool.
Nice.
Number 11. It's a really simple one. Okay, to think like a designer, you need to observe the world around you.
Oh.
Okay. In order to start understanding, how to solve problems, we're always focused on the problem that is laid to us, but take a look at the problems out there. Think to yourself, how would I solve a problem about a long lineup at a coffee shop? How would I solve a problem about, street lights or just anything, right? You look around and kind of expand your mind to the world outside, right? Yeah. Not only can you, start thinking and playing how you're going to solve all the world's problems, because we're designers and designers are capable to solve all of the world problems. Okay. But, at the same time, this is also a great opportunity to find inspiration for projects that you're working, or just inspiration in general, creative inspiration, inspiration that you carry on to projects, you carry on a home, you carry on the way you carry yourself. It's just, you need to be able to observe the world around you, right? Stay curious, constantly observe, and observe things in everyday life, not just on the screen time or on, all of our apps where we're ingesting all this creative design stuff.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Number 12.
Yes.
Number 12. Okay. Simplify. Okay.
Ooh.
This one, plain and simple. Okay. Think like a designer. Simplify. And, people understand simplify, strip things down, not to its bare minimum, of course, because I think that's where people go wrong with this, right?
Well, it's blanding, right?
It's blanding, and that's gone too far, right?
Gone too far.
But, simplicity is about only leaving in the parts that matter most. Okay. Don't strip things down until they're boring, until there's nothing left other than a word mark, right?
Yeah.
But if that word mark needs something extra that the brand can own, right? Keep that in place, right? Take away enough, okay, but not too much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the crazy thing. So, you need to leave a little meat still on that bone. John Maida, actually, his quote, okay, is simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Okay. And that's what this is. That's exactly what true simplification is. Yeah. It's not a matter of simplifying something for the sake of making it simpler. It's simplifying it just enough to do what it's supposed to do well. And that's it. Right.
Nice.
Again, people always fear that they're leaving out something important that's going to make all the difference in this fucking purpose. The reality is, you add that extra second, third, fourth element, it's going to actually make this go the other way and confuse people and make them lose sight of what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So simplify is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Love that.
Nice. That's really good.
Number 13. Okay. This one's one of mine. Ready? Think in layers.
Think in layers.
Think in layers. Break down your design into layers. The emotional layer, the functional layer, and the aesthetic layer. Okay. So every piece that you have to work on, right? Break it down into all three of those parts and try to address every one separately. So even if it's something as simple as a social post,
right?
Okay. The emotional layer, well, if this is going to people and it's
is this got the feels? Like, is this going to hit me right here?
Is it going to hit me? Does it have that tone that I want it to have? Does it have the right people in there to connect with the emotional side of what you want? So there's connecting with the emotional side, right? Then it's like, does it have the call to action? Right? The headlines. Does it have all the points the functional parts that it needs to have?
Yeah.
Sure. And last but not least, how do we make that shit look good? Okay. We design. So design is last, right? So emotion first, function second, design third, the aesthetics part. So if you can, try to think things in layers and break each one of your designs out into one of these three layers.
Nice.
Weak? Weird? I don't know. We'll try and see if it works.
I think that's good because if you can kind of see, if you see something and it really hits home what the client is asking for, like ticks all those boxes kind of thing.
Kind of, right?
Or you hit those layers, if you will.
Hit the layers, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way we see the world, because we're designers and we're used to layers. Photoshop is ingrained that into us, okay?
After so
many damn years.
There you go.
All right. Number 14. Don't be afraid to break the rules. Okay. So
nice.
we are constantly, we're taught design principles and online, you're doing things wrong. This is the way you should be doing it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like everybody's just constantly banging us, making us think that there's it's black and white, this world. This world is so not black and white.
Absolutely
Design
not.
is so colorful and so full. And they're important. I'm not saying, don't follow rules. Rules are really fucking important. But great design comes from breaking rules thoughtfully.
Yes.
Okay.
Thoughtfully.
And that's the key word. If you're going to do it, make sure you have a reason for doing it. Not just because you want to be a jerk and be like, oh, this is punk rock style. I'm going to fucking do it, man. No, that's not what this is about. This quote is from Frank Gehry. Okay. And he said, in the end, the character of a civilization is encased in its structures, not in its rules. Right? It's so true. People are, when you look at past civilizations, you look at Greek architecture, Roman architecture, you look at stuff from the Renaissance, nobody's going to sit there and understand all the rules and nuances that they put in place for those times. They're just going to see the beauty of what it is that they're looking for. That's what they're going to remember. Right?
Yes.
So don't worry so much about those rules if you have a reason why you can bend them, break them, go outside them.
Right.
Crazy?
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
All right, number 15. This is perfect for these days, okay? This is for the data age that we're living right now, okay? Number 15, think like a designer. Be data informed, but not data led. Okay, and there's a huge difference. There is so much data everywhere right now, okay? We can want to find out about people's personas, it's online. We want to find about stats to a website, it's online. Views on a social post, it's online. Everything we want is accessible to us right now, right? But that doesn't mean we have to let it kill our creativity. We have to use it as another tool in our arsenal to help us create better. If we know a social post is skewing, girls between the ages of 10 and 15, okay, well then don't create something that's going to appeal to dudes 20 to 25, that are like car jocks, okay? Like it's probably, this is a situation where Taylor Swift might be a little bit more appropriate than Linkin Park, okay? So, use data wisely, but don't let it kill your creativity.
Nice.
Okay?
Nice.
All right, number 16. Get feedback early and often. Okay, so we are huge when it comes to this, okay?
Yes.
Involve other people in the process. So many times, okay, designers work, in seclusion. We're by ourselves, whether we're in our house or we're working remotely, right? You need to bring people into the process earlier on and be open to critique throughout the whole entire process, okay?
Yes.
So this can help you, inform your project better on, okay? Oftentimes, we'll include the client early on. Our whole process it's a collaborative process with our clients. We include our clients literally from, the wireframe stage. We wireframe more than just websites. We wireframe, compositions. Oftentimes today, I did a single microsite. It was like a basic page. There was like 6 elements in there, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to wireframe this and send it to the customer to make sure we're not missing anything. Well, guess what? They came back with 3 things that was never discussed anywhere in meetings. So I'm glad I did this in the wireframe stage. Because now that completely changes the design, what they realized. Okay. So again, we included them early on in the stage. And that really helped out the process overall. So now I'm not going to get as pissed off as you were today when you got your stuff, right?
Exactly right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So again, early on, get feedback early on if you can, okay?
Yes.
Number 17, be an advocate for the user. Okay. This is tricky because we always say think about the user, but we don't necessarily fight for the user if the customer comes back. Okay.
I see.
So I went, I can't tell you how many times, even today, pushed back on a client. And I was like, listen, I know you love this design. You proposed this design, but the reality is where that information is, where the user is going to see it every single time, is going to require them to scroll, okay? 2 scrolls to see the information that they want accessible every time.
Ooh.
And while that's not a big deal once in a while, okay, the client, because it's an app, the client was going to access this information on a daily basis, 3 to 5 times a day. You know how fucking annoying it would be to get there and then the information I need is 2 scrolls down, 3 scrolls every single time. You know what's going to happen? The client's going to be like, why the hell isn't this up top? This is all I want it for, okay? You need to be an advocate for the user. You need to stand up for their needs, even if it means pushing back to the customer about a design that they're so proud or an idea that they're like, yes,
this is going to work. This is going to work. No, we need to kind of
it's true.
Test this a little bit.
That was because that was the pushback I got today. It's like, well, it's only 2 scrolls, and I'm like,
no,
2 scrolls.
That's a lot.
5 times a day. Yeah, it's really fucking annoying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody's going to put up with that.
And in the end, customer's going to be happier.
Yeah.
Then the client's going to be happier. You own that customer. You own the client. So be an advocate for the user, not just the client.
Nice.
Okay. Number 18. Think beyond trends. Okay. Good design is timeless. Okay. Yes. Trends come and go. Okay. So focus on creating work that lasts and don't just be a trend jockey. Don't just jump on the next trend that's running by. And this is something, good, thoughtful, design using design principles that we know and understand will always outlast, something that's all flashy and fun right now.
Yes, big time. Yeah. And, despite what you think, impact is not always going to be a hip font for 20 years.
Oh my God,
Moss! I know I have to tell you this.
Sean,
you're shocked by that, right?
Have you come to the conclusion? Have you finally realized this, buddy?
Yes.
Impact is not the end all, buddy. It's not
a font. Yes, I tried that for my band. It's not working.
Sean is trying to jam impact.
Trying to bring it back.
Man, this is like the equivalent of hell freezing over when somebody accepts Sean's impact.
Yes, I'm telling you.
I'm throwing in the towel when that happens, dude. Because shortly after, the world is going to be
waiting for a logo, somebody to come to make impact awesome again.
Oh, shit, dude. That's amazing. So think beyond trends, buddy. Okay, number 19. We're almost done, guys. Hang tight. Right. Number 19. Design with integrity. Okay.
Don't float through it. Don't.
This is a little even more. This kind of goes. I get the whole float part, and that's actually a really nice angle. Like, just don't kind of. We'll talk about that one as part B to this. What I was thinking when I put design with integrity out there, right, is I remember this show I used to obsess over when I was a kid. Okay,
Who's the Boss?
Sorry. Who's the Boss was very life-changing for me. But once Angela Bauer did turn me into wanting to have a future in design, I then started watching this show from Toronto called Media Television. It was the best fucking show in Toronto, okay? It was called Media Television, okay? Toronto had this show as a city TV production, and it was a half-hour show every week, Sunday at 5 o'clock, and they would feature different ad agencies. They would feature different ad campaigns, the thought process behind it. And their tagline, okay, for Media Television was the power of persuasion, right? And that always stuck with me, okay? Design is like a superpower when executed properly.
Yeah.
We can guide people. We can change decisions, okay? We can persuade. So when I say design with integrity, we have the power to shape people's perceptions, influence behavior, okay? There is so much. We can make people that are absolutely crooked look like they're heroes, okay?
Yeah.
So do what you do, okay, with integrity, okay? Like you have to live with yourself on this. So don't just take the paycheck.
Yes.
Okay. And again, it's tempting sometimes. Yep. It's very tempting. But if you don't set your own boundaries, your own how far you're going to go, you won't have any integrity.
Right.
So when you do design, use this superpower that you have for good.
For good.
Okay. And design with integrity.
Yes.
Cool. Now, what did you mean? I like where you were going with that.
Well, I just think, like the integrity, like, you could phone it in and do something that's kind of half-assed.
But take pride
in what you're doing. Like, we work with a lot of smaller companies.
Shops. Yes. Right? I get it. And they may not have the same budgets.
Exactly.
They may not have the same panache as some of our more, fancier customers.
Exactly. Yes. And a lot of them have corny-ass logos already.
Oh, my God, yes.
So when you re-up with them, you got to, instead of hitting them hard with the bougie, modern kind of...
And making them feel like idiots that they're so behind. Actually, yeah,
you have to keep that. You have to. You have to keep. Again, maybe it's more, in designing inside of the
brief,
inside of the
idea.
Brief. Yes.
But I think I understand what you're saying. Like, this what you design is always going to be a reflection of you.
Yes.
And similar to that whole taking a paycheck thing, right? Is if you're accepting a job, and I've been guilty of this early on for sure. It's like I accept jobs, but then I don't give a shit about them.
Yes.
Okay. And my integrity went out the window there.
Gone.
And for a few years, I kind of started getting that reputation of, oh, he's one of those, like foofy designers. He's a little, and it was just like, ooh, that's not actually it.
Yeah.
They had a small budget. I had this other guy with a big budget. I gave him more of my time. But the reality is I accepted the job for the small job, for the small budget as well.
Yeah.
And they both deserve equal amount of my attention, my skill.
Right.
Is that what you're going with?
Yes. I think that's exactly what it is.
That's what it feels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I heard initially. But dude, that's like even almost more honorable than my whole
but it's almost.
But it's a B. It's a B.
It's a different angle that we have because of our parent company. They bring us all these co-ops kind of thing, and we get to design some logos for these guys.
Absolutely,
right?
we do.
So, but you kind of think, oh, geez, these are kind of rube dudes from Tennessee or something like that. But still, you're gonna. I still want that logo to be fucking awesome.
Absolutely, because it could be a reflection of you and this agency.
And you want them to excel. You want them to you want to help them, bring them along into a modern age. Because a lot of these logos you could tell they were done in the early 70s.
Yeah, and honestly, you're
late
right.
80s, early 80s.
I think some of them were still like photocopies of old past logos that were just traced over in some sort of rasterized program.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
That's kind of, give it 100%.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
That's right.
Kind of thing.
Cool. Okay. So that's number 19, design with integrity. Okay.
Yes.
Number 20, and Sean did not do this today, but embrace criticism as a tool for growth. Okay.
No, I did because I sat down.
Should have heard him screaming.
I was yelling. But then I calmed down. Then I read the brief. I read what they went through, and I was like, "Yep, I see what he's talking about here. This is good. I have learned from this." And also, while you were talking before, I was thinking, I should have in the first place with this wall mount because it's a presentation or like a for the display.
Yep.
I should have sent them a wireframe right at the outset.
Right from the outset, dude.
Why didn't I do that?
I know. Again,
but we were under the gun time wise, so it had to kind of be almost in a final state. But if I'd sent that first round to get the architecture right, then I could build from that.
Well, and I mean,
so I've learned.
So now you've learned, and honestly, and that's it. But again, we literally just had an episode going on about trolls versus criticism.
Yes,
and that criticism is actually a very powerful experience that designers need to learn how to embrace. Okay, because again, you have to consider different people with different abilities and different experience and different knowledge than you do, right? So just like my little hissy fit today, with and again, wow, coincidence that we both had one of these today. But the reality is, it's like we need to treat every piece of feedback as a chance to refine what we've done. And again, it's not that they're right, and it's not that they're slamming us personally.
Yes.
But there was something missed on the project.
Right.
So they're not saying, Massimo, you suck. You suck.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about.
Nope.
Something was missed.
Something was missed.
And, it's easy for us to get all up and anxious about something like this, right? But we're never going to grow if everybody's to say yes to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We would become very fucking boring designers if everything that we sent, everybody was like, oh, bravo,
Yeah, exactly.
fantastic.
Exactly.
Man, it's just like you're creating shit from the 30s and 40s and it's the 90s and you're like, yo, I'm the man. She's 30s and 40s and I said 90s. Why didn't I at least hit this century? Why? Wow. Yeah.
Actually, you'd be cool in the 30s and the 40s, probably. That's coming back.
It's coming back. Eh? Great. All right. So number 20, embrace criticism as a tool.
It's the best
for
thing
growth.
For you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Number 21. Okay. How to think like a designer. Stay curious. Okay. This is continuously explore new tools, okay? Like new techniques, right? This is when we're like scrolling through and seeing James Bernard showing us faster, better ways of doing stuff that, in the programs that we're using, right? The guy's a wizard, right? The
guy is a wizard.
But it's up to us. And he's doing this by constantly being curious. He's digging in those programs.
Yep.
He's going deep in there, right?
Yep.
Continuously, stay curious because this is the only way. Even like trends, even though we laugh at trends, we're not a trend agency by any means, but it is good to keep up on that shit and stay curious and figure out why the hell do people like things that look like fucking, balloon animal dogs? Why is this a hot thing right now? But, when you're curious about this and you start digging deeper, you realize that it's a cultural phenomenon. And if you have that market, throwing in a balloon animal dog means this,
Yep.
So there is a huge advantage for people to continuously to stay curious in this field. And the longevity of a designer's journey, their career, their lifespan, I strongly feel is based on their curiosity.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You can stop designing. You can stop, hand to paper, mouse to screen, right?
Yep.
You can stop that shit and still be a designer all your life.
Big
and
time.
consult and direct and everything else. But if you lose curiosity, you're done, dude.
Yep.
You're done.
Absolutely. That is the lifeblood of what we do.
Oh my God, it's such a lifeblood of what we do.
Yeah.
Right. Number 22, think in grids. Okay, so I use this analogy a lot, okay, about grids and life. Okay, I had this extremely high-end cabinet maker, okay? This guy would make cabinets for these multi-million-dollar homes, okay? His kitchens were like, they were like $250,000 fucking dollars, okay? And I was in one of their, doing a photo shoot in there, and he was showing me this beautiful Long Island, okay? And it's like 20 fucking feet long, and I'm like, dude, this thing's incredible. And he's like, yeah, but we got to rebuild the whole thing. Like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, it's out an inch.
Oh,
and I'm like, dude, it's 20 feet long. Like, who the fuck even notices? He's like, who's going to notice? He goes, nobody's going to notice. It's out an inch. But when they look at that, they're going to get this feeling something is off. And when people are spending millions on a house and there is something off, it creates this uneasy feeling within the person who's looking. And I was just like, that's fucking brilliant. Yep. It's true. And it is. Then I started applying this to my life. I started, not only my design work when I was doing number one, when it came to logos and layouts, right?
Yep.
But it's like when something is off and it's like you have the opportunity to align 2 points to a grid. It's like, dude, tap that down, 4 taps and it's going to be perfectly aligned with the other side.
Yep.
All of a sudden everything feels solid,
and then it just
right?
looks like, oh wow, what a difference.
Dude, everybody does those like, fancy collage walls in their houses or their businesses, okay? So, mine sadly is measured, or in my office.
In your office, I just gonna say.
And it's not like a straight grid, but there are grid lines connected across pictures. And I thought that was just the way I went about it.
Yeah.
I went to my bakery, okay, someone who we love, and I bring in their stuff here to the office all the time, and they have all their certifications, and they're just stuck on the wall in a collage, and I go in there, and I have such an uneasy feeling. I can't concentrate on the certificate. I can't. And it's because they're just haphazardly put everywhere, right?
All willy-nilly.
people don't understand the power of grids, okay? Not only in design, hands-on design, but like in your projects, in life, in layout, in room functions, right? It just adds, it just helps create balance and structure in designs across the world, or everywhere, right? So again, even if you want to break that, okay, using a grid lets you know you need to intentionally break it, not make it feel like it's a fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. If a couple of points is a fuck up.
Exactly.
10, 20 points is intentional.
Exactly. And again, that conversation I have so many times with people when we're creating ad slides.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen,
it's like either
that looks off, okay? And I was kind of aligning it with that. I'm like, okay, if you're going to align it, it has to be perfect, or it has to be wildly off.
Or totally off.
But it can't be a few points off, because that creates that uneasy feeling that this dude was talking about.
Something's wrong.
Absolutely. So again, think in grids, okay? Even if you plan on being outside those grids. All right? Number 23. Okay, almost done, guys. Almost done. Perfection is the thief of creativity. Okay?
Boy.
Think like a designer. Okay, number 23. Perfection is the thief of creativity. Don't ever strive for perfection, because you know what? Perfection in design doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It fucking doesn't exist. You can continually keep refining and refining and refining something to the point where it drives you nuts. You can, and oftentimes that's what designers are guilty of doing.
Yeah.
Okay? They will create a design. They will take it to 80%. And if you were to show it at 80% to the customer would be like, fuck, that's incredible.
That's amazing.
Because our 80% is generally unattainable by the customer.
Yeah.
But no, some designers, they want to push it. And they keep going 80, 85, 90. This has to be perfect. And they are miserable. It causes them burnout, causes them middle of the night sweats and this and that. And this. Dude, it is unfucking attainable. Yeah. Okay. So again, don't make your life miserable. Don't strive for perfection, because it doesn't exist. Our 80% is a client's unattainable.
Yeah.
Okay. So hand it off early and accept that and move on.
Yeah.
Quote here from David Carson.
Oh.
Okay. Ready? From good old David Carson. Graphic design will save the world right after rock and roll does. So again, don't take perfection so fucking seriously. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Number 24.
Yeah.
Second last one. Design authentically. Okay. Not just for likes. This authenticity is so important in what we do. Okay, you have to be true to yourself, to your customer. Don't worry about being true to likes on the internet. Don't post shit just for the sake of posting.
Me huge.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about authenticity, because again, this goes back to the integrity piece. This goes back to being true to design, true to yourself. Okay, when you design for authenticity, not for bullshit likes and everything else. Remember everything that we've talked about in this and get to this point, okay, where what you're doing is actually for the right reason, for the right cause, for the right objective, not just, for something silly online or for something that's fake or dude, sometimes it's like, I get stuff and it's just like, oh, I can't post that because it's just not right. It's kind of, it's almost like, the whole ethical, rides that ethical line. But ethical sounds, it leans towards bad. I kind of want to go to the authentic route.
Yes.
Okay. And do things for the right reasons, guys.
Yes. Always be authentic, because you're just cheating. You're cheating everybody. You're cheating your client. You're cheating their customers.
Well, you're really cheating yourself.
And you're cheating yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, that sounds really deep, what you just said there, Sean. That should have been number 25. However, we have one more. Number 25.
Number 25. 25.
Okay. Design is a way of life.
Oh, boy, is it ever.
Yeah. You know what? And this is a quote from Alan Fletcher. And the quote is, design is not a thing you do. It's a way of life. Okay. And I'm sometimes on Reddit and some people are like, oh, you need to relax, man. You can still be a designer during the day and be, a father at night. And it's like, duh. Who's saying you don't be a fucking father? My kids love that I'm a designer, and they're embracing. Okay, we're so far only one is actually pursuing creative future. Maybe 3, but still, it's not like they're all walking around with black turtlenecks and big black glasses. Like some people kind of undervalue, the value of being a designer. Yeah. As who you are, okay? And I don't think it's a bad thing to value, to be like, that's who I am, because it's more than just a job, right? It is a way of thinking about life. It's a way of thinking about how you go about your day, the routes you take, the impression, how you're curious in everything you see. Like my curiosity stops at 5 fucking o'clock.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like after hours, if I'm somewhere and I don't see a book or a packaging that totally inspires me, I'm going to be like, no, I'm off hours, man. This is dad time. Fuck you. Like, get off your ass on this one. What are you going to do, dad camper guy? And at 5 o'clock, go and throw on hippie pants and
just forget it.
Dude, I see these people on Reddit and they slam this. And I'm like, you're slamming the worst possible thing.
I don't get that. I like, if I look at my phone after hours and I see something that's fucking awesome, I'm like, oh my God.
Saving it here. I'm saving it there.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you're just like, holy shit. I've got to. Or again, we talk about shower thoughts, or you're laying in bed. Like,
and what is that obstructing my life?
Is that like, are you an asshole because you're because you're thinking about that?
It's exactly it.
I don't get it.
I don't understand, and I question if those people are truly designers or if they're just graphic artists.
Just wonder,
they're just people who go and push the mouse and do this.
Like, maybe they're money guys. I don't know. Like, to me, it's just it's you're always thinking in that kind of vein, and you're always reaching for inspiration from something else.
And it's a beautiful.
And it comes at any time.
And it's a beautiful way to live.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Because again, what am I teaching my kids? On the occasional weekend, we will go antique hunting, and we will go look at antique. And again, granted, they might not be looking at the shit I'm looking for. Yeah. Sometimes I'm there and I'm looking for cool old advertising, cool old fonts and they're looking at old toys. My son likes old iron shit. Not sure why, right? But again, it's just cool that I'm exposing them to something
that's classic and vintage, and
a lot of these people are
designed well.
So I never understood this idea. So if you need to think as a designer, if you're questioning that this, you're not a designer, but design is something you do, guess what, guys? I don't think you're a designer. I actually don't. And that might be harsh. And that might be, I'm very opinionated about this. Yeah. And again, I don't usually state a strong opinion like this, but this is the best industry in the world.
Yeah.
And what we're teaching our kids is to, embrace art, culture, curiosity. We want them to kind of ask why and to find problems and figure out how to solve that shit, right? Yep. So as far as the next generation goes, this is the best fucking way to be. Totally. So again, if you treat design as a way of life and it's how you embrace the new, the exciting, your surroundings, your opportunities, fucking power to you, in my opinion, right?
Big time.
This is the list of 25 ways to think like a designer. Yeah. And in my opinion, that is the best way to think like a designer.
Yep, big time. Okay.
But always. To actually live and breathe that as a way.
Always do it. Yeah.
Right? So I think this is, there's no design lessons here. This was design mindset. This was a way of design thinking. Okay. Ways to observe the world, observe clients, the relationships, the shit that we, and I kind of feel that, there's definitely more that can be added to this list.
Like a billion more.
So many more.
Yeah.
But I think this is my list. Yeah. Okay. My personal list. And I've shared that today with, ways to think like a designer.
Yep.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Good. So if you don't like it, let me know. Let me know and add me some. Give me some of yours.
Yeah,
and let me know, because I'm always open to critical thinking.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer for everything. I don't. I've seen both sides of the coin, as you've heard on this last one.
This is not rocket surgery, right?
Oh, that's pretty funny, Sean. Look at you.
Yeah, this is design, man. There's all kinds of opinions, and there's all kinds of other things.
Right, and there's always another way to take a look at it.
These are 25 amazing tips.
I think so.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm legit. If you guys have anything you want to add to this list, please share. You know what? You can find us, on our website. You can drop the idea there or publicly throw it on Instagram. I mean, I'm open to this and I love having these conversations. So let us know what you think about this. But you know what? Again, open your mind up to more than just creating for a trend, creating for a job, creating for that customer at that time. Okay. Right. Because, this is so much more, there's so much more value and benefit personally and professionally to thinking this way, or at least embracing some of these ways of thought.
You wouldn't have got to where you are today if you hadn't embraced any of these principles, right?
And again, I embrace almost every one of these, Not to say that I follow them 100% every day. No. Because God knows I have my slip-ups like today.
Everybody does.
Absolutely.
We both had slip-ups. We both fucking fell to our lesser demons,
But I agree and stay true to every one of these. Yes. Yeah. All right, everybody. I hope you like what you've seen. Don't be scared to reach out to us again on our website and on Instagram. And I really, really, really encourage you to hit us up on our website and be joined in our newsletter, which hopefully is going to start in the next couple of weeks. The first few might be a little rough, but hopefully we'll get to a point where we're going to be providing you value on a weekly basis, even maybe twice a week. Okay. And then we're going to be hitting you up and setting you up for success, not failure.
Yes.
All right, everybody. My name is Massimo.
And my name is Sean.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.
And stay thinking like a designer. Peace.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign. A sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign. A sign.